This is the Yocal Idaho Midweek Report, where we give you a quick overview of the news in Idaho for the last week. Starting off here strong with our first story here, Idaho athletes head to the 2024 Paris Olympic. This comes by KTVB7 by staff. Idaho will be well represented at the 2024 Paris Olympics, with 9 athletes with ties to the Gem State qualifying for the Games. Here are the general highlights. Now, the first 3 we have here that have secured positions are Idaho natives in women's heptathlon, then second being Boise cyclist Matej Jorgensen in the men's road cycling, and then lastly Caldwell's Alyssa Mendoza in the women's boxing. Now, with that said, that's only 3 of them. As I said earlier, there's 9 of them. So here's the other ones, which are also qualifiers from Idaho. They just have more of a connection. Those 3 are people that are natives that have grown up here in Idaho and have that more direct connection. But there are a couple other qualifiers that have Idaho connections. The first of those being Marissa Howard, a Boise State alumni in the women's 3,000 meter steeplechase. Number 5 being Lisa Bird, who was coached by Boise State Pat McCreary, representing Great Britain in the steeplechase. So we've gone international here, Idaho. And then number 6, you have Sam Atkins, a Lewis Clark State College grad, running the 5,000 meters for Great Britain. Number 7 being Haley Batten and Clyde Deingert in the cycling, both coached by Boise native Kirsten Armstrong. And then lastly, number 8 with Adrian Lau in the equestrian dressage, who trains over in Sun Valley. These athletes represent a diverse range of sports, showcasing Idaho's growing influence in producing world-class competitors. For those like myself that don't keep up with sports as much, the Paris Olympics are going to be running from July 26th to August 11th, where Idaho will proudly represent the United States on the global stage. So going from more of the international stage back to the local, and specifically up north, we have religious freedoms prevail in Coeur d'Alene parade. This comes by several sources. Up in Coeur d'Alene, a Chamber of Commerce attempted to ban religious symbols, including crosses, from the 4th of July parade, which, as you can probably guess, the outrage from local Christians and conservative groups was strong, seeing it as obviously an attack on their faith and the things that we usually would want to celebrate on the 4th of July, or the founding values and inspirations which are God given in some of our founding documents. In response, one of the leading Christian policy groups in the state, Idaho Family Policy Center, and others led a campaign against the policy, leading to thousands of people crying out across the state about it, which, after that public blowback, the Chamber of Commerce there eventually reversed its decision, key part being eventually because they publicly took it off the website where we're still enforcing it on the ground, and then that was found out, and then they finally retracted it fully, thus allowing religious symbols in the parade. In the end, on Independence Day, as you can probably guess, the parade was very full of crosses alongside American flags. And speaking of things for 4th of July and staying up north, Sandpoint Army Surplus Store destroyed in 4th of July fire. This comes by the Gem State Chronicle by Brian Allman. Army Surplus Store, which has been managed by Cornell Razor for over 40 years, was destroyed by a fire on the night of July 4th. Razor, a longtime Republican activist and recently nominated House candidate, reported that an errant bottle rocket ignited the store, resulting in a total loss of the building and its contents. Despite the devastating loss, Razor expressed gratitude on social media for the hard work of first responders and the support of friends and family. He is not seeking financial assistance, only prayers from the community. However, the Kootenai Community Church has set up a donation fund to support Razor and his family during this challenging time. For those that are wanting to contribute to that fund, they can send checks to the church or donate online. Just make sure to specify that it is, quote, Razor Family Support Fund, end quote, if you want to get those funds to them. And speaking of fire things, that's something that happens a lot here in Idaho about this time of year. Idaho battles multiply fires as fire season intensifies. This comes by several sources. As Idaho enters fire season, several significant fires have already challenged firefighters across the state. First one we'll be looking here is in Kuna. A fire sparked by an early fireworks on July 4th consumed over 1,100 acres before being brought under control after a 7-hour battle involving multiple fire departments and BLM resources. Then you have one over in Fruitland, which faced a major blaze that burned about a third of a 48-acre former nursery. Fire possibly caused by another illegal aerial fireworks threatened nearby homes, but was contained thanks to a quick response from about 16 rigs, including support from the neighboring NISA. And then over in New Plymouth, a 10-acre bushfire near Elmore and Fairway was swiftly extinguished on July 6th, with no injuries or damages reported for that one. The successful containment highlighted the importance of the interdepartment cooperation in the Snake River Valley. These incidents underscore the heightened fire risk as Idaho moves deeper into the dry season, emphasizing the need for public vigilance and adherence to fire safety regulation, especially regarding firework use, as we can see after the 4th of July here. Which, if you've liked the stories you've heard thus far or haven't heard about them before, do us a favor and hit the like button on YouTube, Rumble, or Twitter. Helps us reach more folks who love Idaho just like you. And speaking of the dry season, record-breaking temperatures expected in southwest Idaho this week. This comes by Idaho 6 News. The Treasure Valley, and a good chunk of the state, is preparing for a potential record-breaking heat wave this week. An excessive heat warning is effective from July 10th through July 13th, with temperatures expected to soar well above 100 degrees. Tuesday saw temperatures reaching 105, but today, Wednesday, is forecasted to be the hottest day, potentially hitting a dangerous 109 degrees Fahrenheit. This would shatter the previous record of 105 set in 2002. The extreme heat also increases fire danger across the region, as one can guess there. More warmth, more heat, more dry stuff. The Bureau of Land Management warns that any fire sparks has the potential to grow rapidly. Residents are urged to avoid activities that could cause wildfires, such as target shooting or leaving campfires untended. Health officials advise staying hydrated, seeking shade, and limiting outdoor activities during the peak heat hours. Pet owners should be cautious about walking their dogs on hot pavement. While some relief is expected on the weekend, an excessive heat watch will likely remain in place through Sunday. So if you can, stay safe and stay cool, Treasure Valley, because it's going to be a hot one. Now, if you're thinking of trying to get away from the heat, your next best bet is probably Stanley and the Sawtooths up there. We'll be talking about the paradise it is up there for outdoor enthusiasts, which many of us here in Idaho are. This comes by Idaho 6 News by Steve Dent. Which, for those of you who aren't familiar, there's the Sawtooth National Recreation Area up there. I know it's a big, long word, but generally it's in the Stanley area, which it's very much one of Idaho's hidden gems. The drive time up there is about 3 hours from the Treasure Valley, so it's a little bit, but trust me, it's really worth it. The Sawtooth National Park offers some really fantastic hiking and landscape up there in Idaho. When you travel it, you're traveling to something like Lord of the Rings. It also boasts several lakes for those that might not be more of the hiking part, so you can go fishing or do different water sports. Not to mention one of the most important parts, and complementing the story we just talked about, is it's usually about 20 degrees cooler than the valley. So it might be a way to get away from stuff. I know looking at the weather report I last looked at, it's supposed to be, I think, like 90, maybe 80-ish up there, so at least you'll get a little bit of recovery from the heat we'll have here in the valley. But before you do go up there to get away from the heat, it is a rather remote area, so please make sure to have a first aid kit with you, because emergency services aren't just right around the corner. Also, when you're going out in the wilderness, it's good just to tell a friend when you're planning on going and when you're planning on being back, so if something happens, they can call someone or go and look for you. And specifically with those cooler temperatures, the reason Stanley has it so much cooler is because the weather there can be a little unpredictable. It's one of Idaho's weird weather spots because it's also so much cooler. So make sure to pack accordingly with extra coats or different things if you need them if the weather changes quickly. And if you're not able to get out of the valley and you want something cool and refreshing, there's Boise Booch, the new Kombucha Taproom, bringing unique flavors to the Treasure Valley. This comes by the Boise Dev by Ann Daly. A new Kombucha Taproom, Boise Booch, has opened its doors along Curtis Road in Boise, offering both alcoholic and non-alcoholic kombucha varieties. Owner and brewer Katie Powell's 3-year-old dream of opening a boochery has come to fruition, providing a unique gathering space for all beverage preferences. The tap room features Boise Booch's own creations alongside guest taps from other local kombucha companies. Powell, a lifelong athlete, aims to blend health and wellness with social connection through her business. Boise Booch products are available at the taproom online and at various local establishments, including the Boise Farmers Market and several breweries. The venue, which is open Thursday through Sunday, also offers wine and beer options if you're not interested in the more kombucha side of it, so everyone can come for some form of a drink in theory. As a Boise native, Powell and her husband strive to create a comfortable, inviting atmosphere that embodies one of the city's primary spirits, which is being very friendly. And if you're over in eastern Idaho, and this won't be during this extreme heat, praise the Lord, but if you want to have some fun outdoor activities, the Monster Bounce is back for 2024, bigger and a longer stay in Idaho Falls. This comes by the East Idaho News by Andrea Olson. Eastern Idaho's largest inflatable playground, or Monster Bounce, is returning to Idaho Falls for an extended 5-week run from July 11th to August 10th. Located on the Grand Teton Mall, the 23,000 square foot bouncy house offers 30 different inflatable features, including giant slides, battle beams, and mazes. Owner Mason Taylor's reports that last year's event drew about 8,000 visitors, prompting a longer stay this year. The attraction will be open Wednesday through Friday evenings and Saturdays, with adjusted hours to avoid peak heat. Praise the Lord. Admission for it is $12 for 1 hour or $18 for 2 hours. Visitors are reminded to bring water, sunscreen, and wear socks. Taylor emphasized the unique nature of this experience, stating, quote, "It's more than half a football field in size. Once we leave town, there's nothing quite like it you can go and do," end quote. Which, if you didn't know that was happening at all over in Eastern Idaho, or if you're just anywhere in the state and you didn't even know there was a bouncy house that big, please don't hesitate to share it. Your shares can help us spread the word about our beautiful state. Then transitioning out of the fun stuff and to a little bit more of the political or legal thing, University of Idaho's Phoenix purchase, 1-year extension, and new terms. This comes by the Boise Dev by Kevin Richard. The Idaho State Board of Education has unanimously approved a 1-year extension to the University of Idaho's proposed $685 million purchase of the University of Phoenix. This reset, extending the deadline to June 10th, 2025, allows for continued negotiations and decisions with a skeptical legislature, to say the least. The key changes include U of I receiving about $5 million from the University of Phoenix for due diligence costs. Phoenix can now explore other buyers or an IPO. And then lastly, that U of I is guaranteed a breakup fee if the deal falls through. While U of I President C. Scott Grow and board member Kurt Leibeck still tout the deal's merits, they acknowledge the uncertainties of it. The extension aims to address the legislative concerns and navigate legal challenges, including an ongoing Supreme Court case. The deal faces opposition from some lawmakers, with Representative John Gowan expressing continued skepticism about the potential liabilities. As negotiations continue, U of I is offering to share more details with lawmakers who sign a non-disclosure agreement, hoping to build support for this transformative but kind of controversial acquisition. And speaking of another kind of acquisition/merger, we have an update here on the Kroger-Albertsons merger. It's having some legal battles and some looming deadlines here. It comes by the Boise Dev by Dawn Day. The proposed merger between Kroger and Albertsons continues to face some significant legal challenges. Currently, the deal is being contested in 3 separate courts, the first being the Federal Trade Commission at the federal level, then at state courts in Washington and in Colorado. Recently, a Denver district judge rejected Kroger's motion to dismiss the case brought by Colorado's Attorney General, citing the state's right as a co-equal antitrust enforcer. This decision follows a similar ruling in Washington state earlier this year. The coming months are going to be crucial, to say the least, for the merger's future, as court hearings are scheduled in Colorado, Portland for the FTC case, and Washington state between August and October. Kroger needs to prevail in all 3 cases to proceed with the merger before the mid-October deadline. If the deal isn't completed by then, Kroger may have to pay Albertson a $600 million termination fee. The outcome remains uncertain, with the potential impact for Albertson's future ownership and market dynamic kind of in the balance here for the grocery industry. And if we're keeping with the theme with frustrations and legal things that are getting a lot of opposition, Caldwell City Council tables parking meter discussion, plans July workshop instead. This comes by the Boise Dev by Aaron Banks Rusby. So as we've talked about on the Sunday show and a couple others, the Caldwell City Council has postponed a decision on a proposed change to the downtown parking meters, opting instead for a comprehensive workshop. The council was considering modifying the paid parking hours and extending free parking times to instead of being 15 to about 30 minutes. Since the meter's installation in May, some business owners have reported decrease in sales, prompting the city to reconsider its parking strategy. Public testimony at the recent city council meeting revealed mixed opinions, with concerns about the parking meter's impact on the downtown dynamics and kind of consumer behavior. So in a boiled down sense, people not coming to downtown. Councilmember Diana Register suggested several potential adjustments, including extending free parking to 1 hour and adjusting paid parking hours to target evening visitors. However, Councilmember Jeff Williams advocated for a longer evaluation period to accurately assess the meter's impact. Mayor Jerome Wagner indicated that the city staff would schedule the workshop for July, aiming to address the city's concerns and develop a more comprehensive parking plan for downtown Caldwell. Which, speaking of things developing and moving back up into the mountains where it's hopefully nice and cool, Boy Scouts Camp Morrison sold. Future plans uncertain there. This comes by the Boise Dev by Donde. The Mountain West Council of Scouting America has announced the sale of Camp Morrison, a long-standing Boy Scout camp near Payette Lake in McCall. The camp, which has served generations of scouts, will host its final campouts in the coming summer. The property, valued at about $7.82 million by the Valley County Assessor, consists of about 148 acres of an inland parcel there, and about 18.5 acres of lakefront property. The details about the buyer, purchase price, and the transition timeline remain undisclosed at this moment. Scouting America cites continued development around the camp as the reason for the relocation, a consideration which has apparently been ongoing for about 20 years. The proceeds from the sale will be invested in improving the Bradley Scout Reservation near Stanley and the Salmon River High Adventure Basin in Riggins. While the closure marks the end of an era for local scouting, it also signals the potential changes for the McCall area. The future use of the property kind of remains uncertain as the scouting organization shifts its focus to other locations. If you have friends and family that haven't heard anything recently about what's going on with the Albertsons merger or the U of I acquisition, or even with the Boy Scout camp up in McCall, please don't hesitate to share it with them. Your shares can help us spread the word about our amazing state and stories like this. Now, coming into the home stretch here and staying up with the mountains here, Supreme Court upholds Clean Water Act in Idaho dredging mining case. This comes by KTVB7 by Jude Binkley. The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected an appeal in a long-standing legal battle over dredge mining in Idaho's Clearwater River, effectively upholding the lower court's ruling that a California miner violated the Clean Water Act. The case, initiated by the Idaho Conservation League in 2018, centered on Shanna Poe's unpermitted dredging operation in 2014, 2015, and 2018. The court ruled that Poe needed permits under the Clean Water Act, rejecting arguments that his activities didn't add new pollutants to the river. The decision highlights concerns about dredging impacts on riverbeds, water quality, and protecting species such as salmon and steelhead. This ruling sets a precedent for future mining operations in Idaho, emphasizing the need for proper permits and environmental considerations. Jonathan Oppenheimer of the Idaho Conservation League stated that this decision would serve as a warning to those considering unpermitted mining activities, noting that the potential for costly consequences. And speaking of costly consequences, vandalism spree hits Meridian construction sites. This comes by the Idaho 6 News, Keithan Burrell. A recent vandalism spree in Meridian has caused tens of thousands of dollars in damages to construction equipment, posing significant monetary and safety risks. Multiple construction sites across the city have been targeted, with vandalism shattering windows and damaging electronics and various machinery. The extent of the damage is severe, with one mini excavator likely totaled. Doug Sturgis, an equipment operator for CWE Acquisitions, reported that glass replacements alone for their equipment cost about $25,000. Additionally, a GPS panel at a nearby site will cost approximately $50,000 to replace. Beyond the financial impact, vandalism creates a serious safety hazard for the operators. Broken windows exposes workers to potential injuries from the engine heat and high-pressure hydraulic lines, and the damage also compromises the equipment's ability to protect operators from noise and other environmental factors that can happen there on the job site. Local construction companies are now grappling with the repair costs and increased safety concerns as they work to secure their sites against any possible future vandalism. And coming to our second to last one here, and on a little bit more of a happy note, Canary books Nampa's new literacy heaven in downtown. This comes by the Boise Dev by Aaron Banks Rusby. Downtown Nampa has welcomed a new literacy destination with the opening of Canary Books at 1303 3rd South Street. Owners Kirsten Tom and Aaron Goley, who met in a high school creative writing class, realized their long dream by opening the store in April. Canary Books offers a diverse selection of used books across various genres, including young adult, narrative, nonfiction, and sci-fi/fantasy. The store has quickly become a community hub, hosting events such as book clubs and after-hour readings. A special Banned Books event is planned for September 28th to coincide with the National Banned Books Week. The community's response has been generally positive, with the store exceeding initial projections. Tom and Goley aim to provide a space for literacy and community engagement while supporting local libraries. Now you might be wondering, why is it called Canary? Well, it's named that symbol because of resilience and hope. Canary Books is trying to breathe new life, in their words, into the downtown area of Nampa's literary scene, filling a void left by some previous bookstore closures. And coming to our last one here, and this is one that'll affect your pocketbook, or if you're trying to drive away from the heat. July 1st brings updates to Idaho's DMV service and fees. This comes by the Idaho Transportation Department's press release. As of July 1st, the Idaho Division of Motor Vehicles, or DMV, has implemented several changes to improving customer service and offering more options to residents. The key updates include, number one, a $5 discount for eligible online driver license renewals. So you'll actually get money back if you do it online. Number two, relaxed requirements for free voter ID cards. I know for any of the conservative people out there, you might want to go look at that. You'll probably find it interesting. It's not quite what it seems, but maybe something for a later story. Number three, extended commercial driver's license, or CDLs, validity for up to 8 years. And then number four, 2-year weighted registrations for vehicles up to 60,000 pounds. And then number five, new license plate options, including Space Force, so you can get that on there, or the Gadsden flag plates, which, if you want to, we did a whole segment on the Sunday show on our Idaho bill breakdown, looking at that specific bill that added the Gadsden flag. There's some interesting elements to it. And then number six, free Purple Heart plates to all recipients, not just disabled veterans. And then number seven, parent-taught drivers education options for rural areas, which we also talked about that on the Idaho Bill breakdown. So if you want to learn more about that, check that out as well. And lastly, number eight, revised residency definitions for vehicle registrations from 90 to 30 days. These overall changes aim to streamline the service, reduce costs for some transactions, and provide more flexibility for Idaho residents. V is encouraging customers to familiarize themselves with these new updates, take advantage of the new options and potential savings. Which that brings us to the end of the midweek here. Thank you for listening to the entire report. I sincerely hope you found it enjoyable and valuable. If you like the midweek report, make sure to check out the Sunday show where John and I talk about the main stories going on in Idaho. I know we've been doing an Idaho bill breakdown series, which several of those DMV changes we've talked about, when they were coming and the signing and different stuff, so you can find out more about that. Also, if we missed any important points or provided incorrect information, please feel free to reach out to us via email at lyimedia@protonmail.com or on Twitter by tweeting me at Yocal Idaho. With a small team we're not able to cover everything, but we do our best to cover the most interesting and important stories. Thank you for your continued support and assistance. That's all for now. I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Godspeed.